It's July 10th and it's time for the FX Educational Outlook. This is John Osborne and let's go ahead and get started. We're looking at the pound yen and we're making this move up here. I managed to put in some lines on some of our charts that show where our stops are and potential targets, with the red showing our current stop. You can see we're trying to break out of this consolidation pattern here and moving higher. I'm going to try to use a white line to indicate that we've got an entry point, and the green line may or may not be on the same chart. So for example, we can see that we got a green line way up here that's still pretty far away. Okay, but it may not show up, but I'm going to try to get them on there and keep them on there to show where our potential stops are as we track and trail our stops up manually. But you can see that the pound yen is trying to move up. I'm going to go ahead and put in a top right here. This would be a near-term target. Right above that, we'd go ahead and take this target here at 148.447. So we're still working our way up. We'll see what happens with this one. We are watching out for the 148.447 for a better break and a run higher. For the euro pound, you can see we've gone up and keep struggling to try to break above this resistance. So I'm putting in a stop below this last pivot here, and we could likely run up to this previous move up here on the 4-hour chart. You can see that same pivot here, but ultimately working for a target a little bit further out, a little further up. For the Kiwi yen, you can see we're pulling back a little bit, but still in a general upward trend. This is the one that we've been watching go up and up and up, and it just seems to not stop. A little bit of breather here, and a move up. You see a little bit of doji indecision here coming down in the midpoint or the yellow line of our Bollinger Bands, and then yet another move up again. So we continue to keep watching that. We keep bouncing off that yellow Bollinger Band midpoint line there. So keep watching that. For the Aussie yen, I put in the stop at the last pivot as well, so we can capture some profits here. And we don't have very far to go until we get to our next target. We can go up and put it at our next pivot if you want to. You can take profits whenever it feels like it's the right time for you, but usually it's based on a matter of risk and how much risk you have. You want to at least make 2 times whatever you risk, and that's where you could start to take your profits or take off some of the position. And we're still showing pretty good bullishness here as we're breaking through the 50 weekly bar. For the dollar yen, you can see we continue to move higher. We're getting closer and closer to that 114.367. If we can break that, we'd head more up towards our 115.501 target. You can see our stop is trailing up behind here. It's not exactly clear which of these. You can be safer by going with this one, a little bit less safe and preserve a little bit more with this pivot here. For the euro US dollar, you can see we broke above, came back and retested that broken resistance, and now we're kind of moving sideways for a little bit here, and it's not surprising, but we've had a pretty good move up here. So let's see what happens. We just have to keep an eye on that going forward. For the Aussie US dollar, this one's really pulled back quite a bit now, and it's seemed like it's losing some steam, but that's not surprising because we're still inside this giant pennant. So we might make another cycle down towards the lower part of the weekly pennant before we start to move back up again. So we'll probably have to move that one into the consolidation grouping. And then the last one in our bullish grouping, we have the pound dollar, and that is also pulling back a little bit. So we're seeing a little bit of pullback here, but we're also suffering from the doldrums, and we're still waiting for Yellen testimony to come out later on this week to Congress, so to the Senate. So anyways, US dollar Swissy, you can see we're trying to move down. These are our bearish ones, so we've made this move lower, broke through this previous swing low right here, and it looked like we should head lower, but then it went back up and moved up towards the retest of the broken trend line. So let's see what happens here. It's starting to look a little bit more bullish. We've got to really break through this 0.95485 to go lower, because that's a nice big significant pivot right there. If we can get through that, then we'll follow through on the bearishness that we're seeing on the weekly. Hope perhaps. And then we have the dollar loonie. That one we're breaking through the previous swing low here at 1.29671. So watch for this one to head lower. I'm going to head and made this one, it should be red here, and that's, I'm going to use that for our stop. Our target's way down below us here, but we can keep saving our profits as we continue lower. We'll probably be looking in this area to move our target to, move our stop to once we get a little bit more distance away from there. And finally, with the pound loonie, you can see we broke through on the 240, and we're starting to head lower, looking bearish on our daily as well as the weekly. So we're watching for this one to head lower. Might want to keep an eye on this previous swing right here and watch for a potential break for that or a bounce. Okay, right now it looks like it wants to go lower, so we'll keep an eye on that. Remember, and that'll do it for today. Remember, you can subscribe by clicking on my image in the upper right of the video, and look at the previous videos by clicking on the image in the upper left. And until next time, have a great rest of your day.